There's a very specific kind of argument that only really exists online. It usually starts with someone saying, "Hey, this isn't okay," and ends with someone saying, "You just don't understand satire." If you've been online for more than 5 minutes, you've probably watched this exact exchange play out under a video, a clip, or a screenshot from 2012 that someone dug up like an ancient artifact. We've actually seen this exact moment play out in my previous case study. And that's kind of a problem, because satire only works when people agree on who the joke is actually for. And online, that agreement hasn't just faded, it's splintered. So today, I want to talk about what happens when satire loses its audience, how internet culture helped that happen, and why satire stops being protective the moment it stops being legible. Alright, let's go ahead and jump into the history right off the bat. So, historically, satire wasn't just being offensive and calling it art, it had an actual job. Political cartoons are a great example. Even if you hated the cartoon, you usually knew who it was mocking. A politician, a policy, a powerful figure. The exaggeration was the point, not the excuse. Same with Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, which English teachers still insist on assigning just to watch students panic for a page or two. No one was actually confused about whether Swift wanted people to eat babies. The target was British policy and indifference, and the audience knew that. Hell, even modern sketch comedy follows this rule. Early SNL, The Daily Show, Colbert Report. You might disagree with the politics, but you understood what was being critiqued. The joke was legible. Satire worked because it relied on shared context. You didn't need a comment section to debate and figure out who the joke was aimed at. Now, the internet didn't break satire overnight, but it did quietly change what kind of humor got rewarded. Early internet culture was deeply ironic. Everything was exaggerated, detached, and allergic to sincerity. You weren't supposed to care too much, and if you did, that was embarrassing for you. Shock humor thrived in that environment. Being outrageous felt rebellious, and saying, "Relax, it's a joke," was basically a get out of jail free card. But platforms didn't reward clarity, they rewarded the attention. So satire slowly stopped being about making a point and started being about provoking a reaction. Louder jokes traveled farther, edgier bits got clipped, and suddenly the goal wasn't critique, it was getting that sweet engagement. Now, here's where things really start to fall apart. On the internet, content doesn't stay where it was posted. A sketch made for a very specific audience 10 years ago can now show up on your For You page today, completely stripped of context. I'm sure you've seen this. A clip goes viral and half the comments are laughing and the other half are asking why anyone thought this was okay in the first place. Both groups think they're correct. Some people see the irony, some people see sincerity, some people see a character, and some people see the creator saying exactly what they mean and just hoping irony will save them. And when those interpretations clash, creators often fall back on ambiguity. It's satire. It's a character. You're taking it too seriously. Which, to be fair, works great until it doesn't. Ambiguity can be powerful in art. In internet comedy, it often turns into plausible deniability. If people laugh, it's funny. If people are uncomfortable, they miss the joke. If people criticize it, they're humorless or sensitive. The problem is that satire can't function if it means everything and nothing at the same time. It's not Schrodinger's joke. At some point, audiences have to open the box and stop asking what the joke is and start asking who the joke is actually for. And that's when satire stops being armor. Because once the audience fractures, the The creator no longer controls the narrative. Intent matters less than impact, especially when the content keeps resurfacing for people who were never part of the original audience to begin with. Another issue is that online satire tends to harden into a persona, a character, a bit, or even a brand. And platforms love consistency. Audiences love familiarity. Algorithms love repetition. So creators get rewarded for doing the same thing over and over and over again, even as the cultural context shifts around them. And I'm sure you've probably seen this too. A character that was once clearly exaggerated slowly starts to feel uncomfortably real. A joke that used to feel pointed starts to feel lazy. But the creator can't just stop because the persona is the channel. Trying to evolve feels risky. Trying to retire that character feels like setting your own algorithm on fire. So the bit keeps going, long after it stopped working the way it was meant to. At some point, satire becomes indistinguishable from the thing it was supposedly mocking. Now, this isn't about one creator or one controversy. It's about an entire era of internet humor running headfirst into a new set of cultural expectations. We've spent years rewarding irony, shock, and ambiguity. Now, audiences want clarity, accountability, and intent. Those two eras don't blend very smoothly. So we keep seeing the same cycle. Old content resurfaces. Creators say they were misunderstood. Audiences say, no, we understood. That's why we're uncomfortable. When the audience no longer agrees on who the joke is for, satire loses its power. Like we've discussed, satire depends on clarity. The internet thrives on confusion. And when those two collide, satire doesn't win. Because when satire stops being legible, it stops being protective. And once that protection is gone, all that's left is the impact. Not the explanation, not the nostalgia, not the comment section defending it. Just however it lands. So when people ask why these conversations keep happening, why old content keeps resurfacing, why satire keeps getting re-litigated, it's not because the internet suddenly forgot how jokes work. It's because satire stopped being legible long before it stopped being used. And next time, I think I want to look at what happens when a creator builds an entire career on that ambiguity, and what it looks like when the audience finally stops agreeing on the joke. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, please feel free to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!